Generations from now, we will be able to look back and tell our children that this was the moment when the rise of the oceans began to slow and our planet began to heal. Barack Obama, 2008. You can tell how dangerous a politician is by the grandiosity of his statements. As Jim Simpson points out in his latest book, Marxist politicians who hide their Marxism under benign-sounding slogans are among the most grandiose and dangerous. Listen to their bragging, and you will hear of their magical abilities to change the weather, to lower sea level, to cure sickness and poverty. Such claims are self-aggrandizing, to be sure. Promising people free health care, free jobs, free money, etc., is a path to power, after all. And isn't power like magic? Yet, that same power prefigures massive taxation and the plundering of private citizens, the shuttering of businesses, the degradation of healthcare. It is robbing Peter to pay Paul. Of course, Marxists rarely deliver on their promises. They rob Peter while forgetting about Paul. Instead, they pay themselves. And so, the Marxists are the real enemies of the people. Marxists, after all, have oppressed, murdered, and robbed more people than anyone in history. Judging by what Marxism does, you would have to say that Marxism is all about destruction and murder. And yet Marxism, as the new religion of mankind, appears to be taking over the world. They are succeeding on every front. Everywhere Marxism is concentrating power in the hands of its acolytes under various banners and slogans. And they have grown so bold as to say, "You will not have anything, but you will be happy." Does happiness come from being robbed? Does it come from being threatened, vaccinated, locked down, gaslit, and disenfranchised? If that does not suffice, perhaps the Marxists in Beijing and Pyongyang can arrange to have us irradiated and blanked with smallpox. You will only have a pox, but you will be happy. Even better, right? Does the average person see that nearly everything happening today is connected with Marxism? Please note, China is a Marxist police state, the point of origin of COVID-19, and Joe Biden entered the Senate with the support of Armand Hammer, a known KGB agent according to Hammer's dossier. Does anyone see that all our latest isms are merely Marxism in disguise? Feminism, environmentalism, anti-racism, vaccinism? And as it happens, the acolytes of the new religion of socialism look to Karl Marx as the seminal theorist of the world revolution. Right now they are bringing down capitalism with lockdowns and vaccine mandates, destroying businesses, crippling industries, breaking the supply chain. So maybe we ought to learn a little more about Karl Marx, the father of Marxism. I earlier mentioned Jim Simpson's latest book, which is all about Marx and his epigones. According to Simpson, it turns out that progressivism's end product is merely the reflection of Marx's personality, played out to devastating effect on the world stage. And how might we describe Karl Marx's personality? Simpson says that Marx was a fraud. His true followers are those who are ready to exploit and extend this fraud. As a personality, noted Simpson, Marx was hypocritically greedy, petty, arrogant, lazy, selfish, dishonest, and brimming with hatred. Taking a quick look at Marx's actual attitudes, he was an equal opportunity hater. He despised Germans as stupid people. Slavs, he said, were ethnic trash. His opinion of blacks cannot be repeated because his characterization included the N-word, and he called the working class rogues and asses. In short, Marx was an ugly bigot. Of course, he believed in his own genius. In fact, he was spoiled by his parents and never worked a real job in his life. He married an aristocrat's daughter, squandered at least one legacy, and sponged off his friend, Friedrich Engels. Karl should accumulate capital instead of writing about it, said Karl's mother. But Karl was too busy plotting world revolution to properly support his wife and family. Indeed, his children starved. Of 7 born to his wife, only 3 daughters survived into adulthood. Marx's wife was an unfortunate woman. She left Karl twice, but returned. Marx was lecherous enough in the meanwhile, so that he got the household maid pregnant and pawned the child off on Engels. Simpson argues that Marx was of a type, that is to say, a destructive type. Simpson also suggests that other revolutionaries belong to this type. From the murderous Russian nihilist Sergei Nechayev to Mikhail Bakunin, who was Marx's rival within the revolutionary movement, we see the same raging desire for universal destruction combined with antisocial behaviors. It was Nechayev who wrote, "Our task is terrible, total, universal, and merciless destruction." Bakunin wrote, "In this revolution we will have to awaken the devil in the people, to stir up the basest passions. Our mission is to destroy, not to edify." Likewise, Marx and his co-author Friedrich Engels shared a similar vision in the Communist Manifesto when they wrote there are, besides eternal truths, such as freedom, justice, etc., that are common to all states of society. But communism abolishes eternal truths instead of constituting them on a new basis. It therefore acts in contradiction to all past historical experience. Imagine what that means, to act in contradiction to all past historical experience. It means, in essence, to act destructively. For we preserve ourselves best when we act in accordance with past historical experience. And by breaking with historical experience, we put our existence at risk. Destruction, therefore, is the central revolutionary theme. Yet how did this wicked man turn history upside down? How did his mode of thought capture Russia, China, North Korea, Harvard? Simpson says Marxism succeeds because we are awash in Marx-like personalities. Too many people today are spoiled, narcissistic, rotten, etc. They share Marx's orientation because they share his personality. Of the great revolutionaries, notes Simpson, most were and are children of the wealthy. Marx's father was a successful lawyer. Lenin's father was a successful school administrator elevated into the nobility. Mao Zedong's father was the wealthiest of local farmers. Castro's father was also successful, raised with wealth and privilege, but unwilling to adjust to normal life. The violent revolutionary seeks unlimited power and unearned wealth. It is no accident that Fidel Castro died with a bankroll of nearly $1 billion. Look at Putin's wealth. Imagine the wealth that Xi Jinping controls. According to Simpson, Marxism appeals to those who grow up thinking they are special and by their very place have nothing to prove. They already know it all. They are the kind of people attracted to simplistic, nihilistic, self-aggrandizing worldviews. This fact was even recognized by Soviet strategists in decades past, who developed a profile of those capable of leading a communist revolution. That profile includes 3 key items. 1. A capacity for brutal conduct. 2. A sly and cunning intelligence. 3. And the appearance of caring about people. When we look around today, we find closet Marxists in high places in Congress, in the White House, and in local government bodies, like city councils, boards of health, or school boards. Marxists are drawn to power like moths to a flame. There are many small Marxists today operating on a small scale. These share Marx's contempt for eternal truth, justice, and goodness. When they talk of change, they are seeking to empower themselves. When they talk about the children, they are trying to get control of the future, to stay in power forever. When they talk about equality, they are out to rob one group of people in the name of another. Their self-aggrandizement may be hidden behind grand-sounding words, and you might even begin to believe they are well-intentioned. But their methods are always evil. Whenever the left comes up with a new proclamation or policy, says Simpson, we tend to take it seriously, considering each one afresh as if it were some novel proposition on the laws of physics. But upon closer examination, we realize it is simply a repackaged version of the same old ideas first embraced by Marx, and even those were not new. We should not be so docile or manipulable, says Simpson. It is the incredible flexibility of the Marxists that allow them to continually shift their positions, change the issue at hand, bend the rules, deploy intimidation tactics and misdirection to frighten and confuse. We must develop our sense of smell, or sense of foul play, at every level of government. For the Marxists are busy at every level. Many people do not realize that there has been a communist push to take over America for over 100 years. It is worthwhile, in this context, to support Simpson's contentions with some quotes from R.N. Whitney's Reds in America, which brought to light communist documents captured in the Bridgman, Michigan raid of 1922. The documents seized in this raid reveal the political program of the American communists. These documents also included signed checks from prominent citizens, instructions from Moscow, theses, questionnaires, and material related to the overthrow of the United States government by an underground organization. And the whole thing was inspired from Moscow and directed by Lenin and Trotsky. To show the effect of Marx's doctrine on his Russian and American followers, Whitney explained, "It is known that agents of the communists are working secretly through legal bodies, in labor circles, in society, in professional groups, in the Army and Navy, in Congress, in the schools and colleges of the country, in banks and business concerns, among the farmers, in the motion picture industry, in fact, in nearly every walk of life." Whitney goes on to describe the agents of the communist movement. These agents, he says, are not lowbrows, but are keen, clever, intelligent, educated men and women. They are experts in their several lines. Their programs, which are now known, show that their plans for inciting the Negroes, the farmers, the clerks, the workmen in industry, members of Congress, employees in government departments everywhere, to violence against the constituted authorities, have been drawn with almost uncanny appreciation of the psychology of each group, with facts and figures so manipulated as to appeal to those approached, with false premises so cleverly drawn as to fool almost anyone. Fooling people is an essential ingredient in Marxist politics. Simpson quotes the communist master strategist Willy Munzenberg, "We must avoid being a purely communist organization. We must bring in other names, other groups, to make persecution of communists more difficult." And so, the communists have wrapped themselves in other causes: environmentalism, feminism, healthcare for all, racial equality, religion, etc. "We must organize the intellectuals and use them to make Western civilization stink," added Munzenberg. "Only then, after they have corrupted all its values and made life base, can we impose the dictatorship of the proletariat." The whole Marxist project is insidious. The destruction that is promoted by the communists is not merely physical destruction. It is about destroying cherished customs, laws, and folkways. Such is in keeping with the spirit of Karl Marx and his kind. It is hard to imagine a more malevolent program, that is, a program to corrupt society intentionally. But that, indeed, has long been one of Marx's goals. If society's corruption has grown worse of late, Marxism bears some degree of responsibility. Because a debased population is easier to manipulate, easier to intimidate, easier to rule over, the Marxist works to lower our moral standards. Citizens who are upright and honorable are not easily tyrannized. Citizens who use illegal drugs, employ abortion for birth control, and have no intellectual integrity are ready tools of the communists. Finally, one of the things I liked the most about Jim Simpson's book was his chapter, "All Roads Still Lead to Moscow." Simpson knows that Putin's Russia is not really conservative or nationalist. "Our eyes are all on China," says Simpson. But just recently, Russian hackers took down the colonial gasoline pipeline, causing dramatically spiked fuel prices amidst all the other energy-related economic chaos. Simpson points out that the Democrats' obsession with Russia is a smokescreen that hides a long-standing pro-Russian collusion. For example, Hillary helped the Russians get American uranium. Obama was caught on camera eager to help Putin disarm us through future negotiations. Simpson points to unanswered questions about the suspicious murder of Seth Rich, the alleged Russian hacking of the DNC emails, and more. Russia is also mobilizing its armed might on the borders of Ukraine and NATO. In terms of military strength, notes Simpson, Russia is not to be despised. Simpson argues that we must organize against Marxism from the local level on up. He even lays out a program for doing this. Knowing who Marx was, and knowing the personality type of the communist revolutionary, is useful for those who are dealing with leftists in local and national politics. All political activity is of a piece. People do not do things at random. There is method in Marxist politics, and we need to spot those methods when they are at work. We need to know our enemy, and Simpson's book serves that end.